Hello dear table tennis enthusiasts. Today, I have the Dr. Neubauer K.O Extreme Medium Pimple Rubber under review. I've been playing with them for a while, and I want to say, guys, I think I've found the perfect medium pimple rubber for myself. To help you better understand what these rubbers are, I'll start with a little background. In 2016, the Dr. Neubauer K.O medium pimple rubbers were released. These medium pimple rubbers gained popularity among table tennis players for their unique properties. They produce a tricky and unpredictable ball trajectory while still being easy to control. I played with these rubbers for about a year, using them with different sponge thicknesses, and I was completely satisfied with them. Then the K.O Pro version was released. It has a different sponge that is slightly faster. While playing with K.O and K.O Pro, not every player will notice the difference in speed. Next, the K.O Extreme was released. These rubbers have a different pimple geometry, and the speed slightly exceeds that of the K.O Pro. Today, for the test, I glued the regular K.O 1.5mm and the K.O Extreme 1.5mm to compare them and find out the difference. The K.O Extreme is red, while the regular K.O is black. By the way, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. There is an interesting difference. When playing with K.O Extreme, due to the new geometry and different sponge, the ball grips a little stronger compared to the regular K.O. The ball stays on the racket surface longer and grips stronger when chopping and playing short pushes. With enough technical skill, you can produce a chop that sends the ball flying without spin. You can also add various lateral movements, which will give the ball different characteristics, creating additional difficulties for your opponent. By the way, about receiving serves. Even long serves can be received short, surprising your opponent, if you present the racket with a relaxed hand. Overall, I didn't notice any significant difference between K.O Extreme and the regular K.O. There are differences, but they are minor. What can be said here? It's very pleasant to counter-drive the ball with both K.O and K.O Extreme. Just push the ball forward, and it will be difficult for your opponent because the ball is unfamiliar. The ball's trajectory is different, and there is no spin, or the spin is unexpected. So, in counter-drive rallies, you will certainly have an advantage. It was easier for me to execute counter-drives with K.O Extreme. So, for players with good technique, I would recommend K.O Extreme. At the same time, in terms of destructive capabilities, these rubbers are the same. The ball speed when attacking with K.O Extreme on an OFF blade is quite high, even with a 1.5mm sponge. And if you use a 1.8mm or 2.0mm thickness, it will be even faster. In general, to perform pushes and counter-drives with these rubbers, you will definitely need to practice, as they are significantly different from other medium and short pimple rubbers. It is possible to simply place the racket, direct the ball forward, and the ball hits the table. It is convenient to stand near the table and lazily put the racket under the ball. My partner in the video executes a good topspin against such a block, but during the match it will be different. It will be more difficult for opponents. During the execution of the block, the difference in speed is noticeable. The ball from K.O Extreme flies a little longer. Nevertheless, it is still possible to execute short blocks. It is not super difficult. When you practice and get used to these pimples, you will be able to make short blocks. And it is not always clear what spin is coming from these blocks. Opponents will make mistakes and feel uncertain. By the way, you can also do a chop block. This is a little more difficult than doing a regular block. With a chop block, the reverse spin will be stronger. If the top spin had a lot of spin, then a lot of backspin will fly back. Making an aggressive block is very convenient. The technique of such a block is easy. Even if you are a beginner, you will be able to learn. But if you are used to some other medium or short pimples, you will have to relearn. you will have to get used to a different technique. It will take time. Block and aggressive block are the strong points of these pimples. You can alternate between an aggressive block and a short block. First, push the opponent away from the table, then make a short block and get an advantageous position to finish the rally if the opponent does not make a mistake. You can attack high topspins. I like the control when performing counterattacks, but of course, this element is not for beginners. After all, a counterattack is one of the most difficult elements of table tennis. But in general, the counterattack with these pimples is very good. I mean, including the difficulty for the opponent. It is much higher than for most other medium and short pimples and pips in rubbers. By the way, it seemed to me that with the aggressive block, KO Extreme is a bit faster and more controlled. Yes, it's strange, but for some reason, it is. Perhaps it's because I have good technique, so it was easier for me to control KO Extreme. It's possible, but I'm not sure that for less trained players, the regular KO will be more controlled. Perhaps I will say a strange thing, but KO and KO Extreme can be suitable for a player who cannot attack from the left and generally does not know much from the left. Because you don't need to be especially skilled to attack with backspin using KO Extreme. Of course, there are nuances, but they are not difficult to master. And you can lazily stand at the table and only move with the forearm or wrist. You can attack aggressively and long, you can perform a shortened attack. This is an interesting process, but your opponent most likely will not like it. You can also perform a counter drive or a flat hit against backspin if the ball has sufficient height. If the ball is lower, you can do something similar to a topspin. This technique is more difficult to execute, but you can still master it after you get used to these pimples. During an attacking shot, you can also add wrist movement. This will make the ball fly faster. In general, these pimples provide good opportunities for initiating an attack. KO Extreme allows for a slightly more aggressive style of play. In general, it can be said that even players at the beginner level can try playing with the regular KO pimples. If you like these characteristics and this style of play, you will be able to master them. The KO Extreme pimples are slightly faster than the KO Pro, which is a bit faster than the regular KO. I believe that the KO Extreme pimples are designed for players who already have a certain level of technique. In other words, they are not for beginners. For example, if you have already learned to play with KO pimples, you like them, but you want more aggression from the pimples, then you can try KO Pro or KO Extreme. All of these pimples are quite unusual, unlike other short and medium pimples. I would even say that they are more similar to long pimples. So, you will have to get used to them. But it's not a problem, just practice and get used to them. These pimples allow you to play unconventionally and aggressively. You will be able to play tactically, play cleverly. And your opponents won't enjoy it. They are unlikely to like these pimples. And I remind you that today I tested the pimples on a 1.5mm sponge. There are other options for sponges. That's all for now. Come to our store for shopping while we create good reviews for you. This was Maxim Sherepnin.